everyone to the second part of Figma One-on-One, where I will teach you what I know about Figma basics. So in this second part, we will see pretty much how we go from wireframes that we did on the first part to high fidelity mockups. We will see how to create the basic components and how we can integrate the Salesforce Lightning Design System to our app. And also, and pretty important, how we can export some screens or some images to SVG, PNG, or PDF files, which is pretty useful whenever we want to share screens. So let's start. I'm going to share my file. So if you remember on the first part of our workshop, we created these screens that were based pretty much on our sketch. So these screens are pretty much black and white. And now, after we have all the idea and what we saw on the first workshop, I don't know if you guys remember the idea of having like this pet application. Let's imagine that we created this logo, or that our marketing team shared the logo for the app. In this case, it's going to be Octabody, because this will be an app that will be only for Octana, for the Octana company, specifically for the pets of the people that work in our company. So let's imagine that the marketing team shared this logo with us. They gave us the color palette. They gave us two types of typography that we can use. And they also share some characters with us. So these will be our branding guidelines, let's say. And now let's start. So first of all, we're going to paste in this new page all the low fidelity wireframes that we had done on the first part. And as you remember, we had the splash screen, which will be the first screen that we will see. And let's go back to the branding guidelines. So we have these characters that the marketing team shared with us. And first of all, we want to, for example, we want to use this little friend as our splash screen, as the main character in our splash screen. What we could easily do is just copy this and take it to our splash screen. Just select it and paste it over there. We could do this, or we could save this little friend, and let me share how we do this. So to save an image, we select the image, and then we go to our right nav bar. We can export the image. We select export the image. And personally, what I always do is choose the highest size, so 4 times, just so that we can keep the fidelity of the image. So it can be a high fidelity image, and we don't have to worry about the pixels or anything. So this will be main image. I just put that name because it's the main image that I will use along the app. I already have it saved, but I will just replace it. And now I want to select my splash screen and go to fill. I have a color in the fill background of this splash screen, as you can see, but I want to replace this with the image of our friend dog, our friendly dog. So I will select this option, And you can see you can have custom colors. Whoops, sorry. You can either have custom colors, so you can change the color. You can also have like drop downs, like shades. You can have linear shades, you can have radial, highlights, angular, and diamond. Those are the options that Figma provides you. And you can replace the background with an image, and you can also actually replace it with a video. So in this case, I'm going to use the image of the dog. This is just an image by default. And then you can go here to choose image, and you can select the image, like you can go to your desktop, for example, and you can go to the place where you saved the main image that you want to use and just paste it there. As you see, we have a background color that I'm going to change. Oops, sorry. So here you can actually choose how you want the character to fit on your screen. You can choose from several ways of placing it. I'm just going to keep it to fill. And afterwards, another important thing that we need to place on any kind of on any kind of product that we build, of course, is the branding, right? I think we can all agree on that. So for this time, I'm just going to copy and paste our branding here. So this is going to replace this square that I created on the low fidelity wireframe. This is going to be my Octa body. And let me just change this screen. Oops, where is the image? Okay, let's say this will be our first introductory image. Then for personalized pet profiles, I actually will take these two splash images that I have already built, and I'm gonna just paste the text that I have here. This actually, all these texts that we have, that I already created here, is generally provided by the marketing team or the product manager, because generally they are the ones that create the text or know better how to translate all these that know better what to share with the user. So for example, here we have the copy that explains pretty much what we want to do with this app, that is create personalized profiles for each of your beloved pets on Octabody. Share their name, breed, and age while connecting with a vibrant community. So that's the goal of the app, pretty much, to connect pet friends and their owners. So here I'm just going to keep our main character. With a fill. So in the case that you got it, you see what's happening here, that you don't have like a background. You can actually just create the background outside the box. I just need a white background for this. And select send to back. So, sorry. Now, I like where the character is, but I would really like it to be higher in the screen. Here, for example. And then of course, we need colors, right? And for that, we're going to go to our branding guidelines once again. And we are going to select the colors. But in this case, I already have them linked to a library. I have the Octana library, the style guides library. But I want to show you guys how we add colors. So for example, we want to add this type of violet base that the marketing team shared with us. So we just select the color, and then we go to these 4 dots to styles, and we click plus to create a new variable. And we can name this color. For example, it will be primary violet. And we create a variable. We can do the same with all of these. For example, this will be, I don't know, darker violet. Number 1. These are just names that make sense to me. You can actually put any name that makes sense to you as a designer or to you as team of designers. It is very important to share this with the product manager, to share your thinking of how to name the colors, because everyone has to be able to understand how you're going to name the colors. And for example, here, I already have the button in the low fidelity wireframe, but I want to change the color to our primary violet, right? And then, of course, this is going to be a continue button. And this will probably be a back button or exit if the user doesn't really want to go ahead with creating an account. So then for creating an account, I'm just going to keep the same little character in this screen. So again, we're going to click here, we're going to click fill. And instead of filling it with a color, we are going to do the same step of going to our library, choosing an image, and just choosing our little pet friend. And you can keep doing that. Then again, we're going to change the color for this. What would make sense in this part will be for the user to fill their email address, the password to create their account. And let's say that, for example, here they have to comply with the policy. So it will say, I comply with policy. I think we have seen all items like this, and then they could see policy. This will be a hyperlink, for example. And for this, we will need another type of color. So then the user will be able to click continue and create their own profile. To validate the profile, it's always a good idea to have a validation code. Just for the sake of saving some time, I'm going to replace these images with the ones we have here, just so I can explain you a little bit of how the path will be for this. So we will have the splash screen that will take the user to create an account. Here they will enter their information such as email and password. They will accept the terms and conditions. That was the word I was searching for. And then they will create an account. To validate an account is really important for the backend to have a validation code. And in case we don't, in case that code is not valid or the time has passed for the user to log their validation code, they will be presented with this kind of error page where they will have the alert that the action they're trying to do or the action they're trying to fulfill has not been validated. In case all the flow is correct, all the flow is proper, in case the validation code works for the user, the idea is that they will go and they will be able to select the profile or the breed that they want to log in. And for this, we will also present the user with a widget. So the widget means that the user will be presented with how many steps they need to fulfill an action. So in this case, they are in the second step. The first step was to create their account. So the second step is to choose the breed of dog they have. And for this, it's pretty much the same thing that we did previously. Whenever we want to add an image, for example, here I can change the image. It wouldn't be a border collier anymore. It will be a chow chow, for example. So instead of crop, we want the image to fit, and it will be a chow chow, for example. The user clicks continue, and here on the third step, they can upload an image of their dog. They can put, of course, their pet's name. And once these two options are fulfilled, this button will be available. Right now, this is the disabled state. So continuing with this, I want to share with you how to create these buttons. So I'm just going to take this as an example. and I'm going to create a new app page. Oops, I already need to have this professional. Okay, I'm just going to erase this one. But I'm going to create, oops, this is weird. Okay, I guess we can just do it here. So I want to show you how to create buttons. So for example, we want to replicate this kind of button, right? We will begin with a square. I'll just take the sizes. You can see all the constraints here. So it's 327 width by 54 height. So 327 by 54. And then let's see how rounded the corners are. Here it says the corner radius is 14. And on the previous workshop, I also showed you that you can actually choose which corners you want to add the radius to. So you don't have to add the radius to all the corners. You could just add the radius to the bottom corners or the top corners. And that's a new feature that Figma has had for the past 6 months. Before, you had to add all the same radius to all the corners, pretty much. And then we are going to change the color to our branding color. And we are going to add the name. Or this doesn't have to be continued. We can use just lorem ipsum that you probably have seen somewhere else. This is pretty much a text that is used as a placeholder, so that the user knows that they can, or the designer knows that they can change the name that is inside this. So this will be one, like the most basic way of creating a button. Another way, which is much better, is using is grouping, is starting with just the text, for example, and adding auto layout. This is a really useful feature, and I will show you why. We don't know what is the size from here to here. Let's say it's 18 by 18. Okay. So here we're going to add on top of and on vertical padding, meaning on top and bottom, 18 pixels. Okay. And then we're going to also add 18 pixels on left and right. And here we will also add the fill that will be the same primary violet. And we also add the rounded corners. And I did both of these buttons because I want to show you the difference. For example, here, if we use auto layout and we say that we want the content inside the button to hug the content from the frame, so from all the violet container, what will happen is that we can actually have, for example, all this text, and the container will adapt to the text. And the difference is that whenever we just create the container and then we add the text, look what happens. The container does not adapt to the text, right? So the best way to create buttons and pretty much all kind of components is always using is to always use auto layout. You can also set the constraints to fill container. And in that case, you can have the option of shrinking. Oops, sorry. We'll keep it with hug contents. And in that case, oh, this is not working. Okay, now. And in that case, the content will follow the resizing of your component. So this is the most useful, and this is how you create components. So right now, we just created our button component. So I'm going to name this as button, primary button. Remember, we have many types of buttons, generally, whenever we have a design system. So this will be the primary button, and I'm going to create the actual component. Then, for example, we will have a secondary button. We can just copy this one, or we can, a better way to do this is to create a variable. So we will add variables. Where are my variables? So we will copy this. We will detach it. And for the secondary button, I will generally, when you have secondary buttons, you just change the color. So for example, this wouldn't be the secondary. This will be more like a hover state of the primary button. So when the user hovers to the primary button, it will look like this. And then we can have secondary buttons, or we can have disabled buttons, for example. In this case, this is a disabled button, the one that I'm showing you here. And I'm just going to copy this color just to let the system know that this is a variant that is disabled. It is really important to name your components the way they're going to be used. So this, for example, will be a disable. And you can see that the text is not really clear to see. So we probably want to use a darker shade for the text. And then we can actually unite all these components and combine them as variants. And this is really useful because look what I'm going to do. For example, if I just want to easily have this button here, and I want it to be disabled. Let's see, I just copied it from this page, and I wanted to have the disable state. I can simply go to properties and select the disable state, and it will automatically change. And for example, let's say I just want to make my life easier as a designer and I just want to copy the same button, but I want to have the primary state. And that's pretty much how it goes. So let's follow the creation to the pet profile. After the user uploads the image of their dog and they name their dog, the idea is that they will select the size of the dog. In this case, it is a medium-sized dog. It weighs 22 kilos. The user can also change to pounds. And it can, it is interesting for the user to know, and for the persons that they can share their profile to know their birth date or their adoption date. And in this case, I am using a date picker from SLDS, from Salesforce Lightning Design System. I'm doing this because it's easier for me to just drag and drop these already pre-made component. As you can see, this is already pre-made. So it makes my life much easier to just have something already done and put it on my app. And this is pretty much what you can do with the Salesforce Lightning Design components. You can drag and drop items or components that will be useful for you. I didn't pick the buttons because I want the experience on mobile to have a bigger button. And on Salesforce Lightning Design System, we only have the options of these buttons that I didn't find useful. And that's the interesting thing when you are designing and when you want to use a library that is already pre-made, you can actually decide what you are going to custom make, such as the buttons that we custom made here with auto layout. And you can decide what you're going to bring from other design systems, such as the calendar or the date picker that I brought from Salesforce Design System. After the user selects the birth date, this is going to be saved, or this is going to be displayed. This is just to show the user how this is going to look, right? So the birthday and the adoption year, the adoption day. Then we can add profiles such as caretakers. So for example, our friend here, sometimes is taken care by Guy Hawkins. He takes him to walks and he feeds Maxi sometimes. So this is the owner. The owner is Esther. She has her own profile, and this is one of her dogs, Maxi. So here we have several options. She can choose nutrition, for example, or let's see, she can also connect with other types of pets, such as Fiona. And on Maxi's profile, it is really important to notice that we can add health, nutrition, insurance, vaccines, and other treatments. And this is where we can also see insurance companies, right? So we have a lot of information that we can keep from our pet. And we can also see where how active it was and the path that it followed. So pretty much this app tracks everything you want to know about your pet, even when you have to take care of it and take it to the salon, take it to a dog alone or when you have to take it to the vet. This is pretty much all the screens that we will need for the app. And now I want to proceed to the next step of our presentation of our workshop, that is prototype. But I don't know if any of you have any questions so far. I know this is a lot to handle in such a short time. So please let me know if you have any questions while I take care of my cat for a second. Sorry, does anyone have any questions? Okay, I guess that means everything is explained. Now I'm going to go to the prototype part. Okay, so once we have all our screens designed and validated, we can go forward and start prototyping. What is prototyping useful for? Prototyping is useful for overall explaining the path that the user will get to see whenever they are logging into our app. So the user will so we can showcase how the user will actually experience our app. So let's start with the splash screen. For this splash screen, it is of course going to go from the splash screen to the onboarding or create an account. But how is the user going to go from this splash screen to onboarding? There's no buttons, there are no actions here. So the idea is that the user won't click. The user will actually, I'm just going to zoom here a little bit. The user is going to go to the second screen after a delay of a few milliseconds. Okay, so once the user checks their email and their password and they accept the terms and conditions, they're going to click create an account and they're going to go to the validation code screen. This will be on click indeed. After they validate their code, they're going to go either let's say we have like the perfect path and the code actually works. They're going to go and select an option. Once they select the breed of their dog, they're going to go and fill the pet's name. Oops. And here I noticed that we are missing a screen because we actually said that once the user fills the information, once the user has the picture of their pet and the name of their pet, this button is going to change to a primary button. Okay, so I go back to prototype. After the user fills this information, they are automatically going to enable this button. So here it wouldn't be on click. Just for the sake of showing this as a prototype, because there are things that you cannot do on a prototype, right? It's not possible for us, to upload a picture, for example, on a prototype. So let's just say that after a delay, we're going to go to this screen where the user will click continue, and they will go to this one. And that's pretty much how it's going to go on all these screens until the last one. So now I want to show you how this looks like whenever you share it. Oops, that was too fast. If you see, and this is always like testing, right? If you take a closer look, whenever I click play, it just starts too fast. The delay is too fast. So we can go back and fix those little details. For example, I'm going to make the delay a little bit longer so that the user will actually get to see the product. Then the user will fill their name. They will click on create an account. Oops, I don't know what happened here. Okay, this happens whenever we don't have this in a frame. So we have to make sure that all of our screens are in frames. Now we can go and say that this will be after a click. And this is a mistake that is probably going to happen on the other pages. So now if you click here, you can get a validation code and you can click confirm. The user will choose their pet. I just want to make this larger so you can see how this looks like. Then he will upload the picture, the pet's name, and select how big it is and their weight. So that's pretty much all the prototype that I'm going to make for this session, since we're running out of time, and I want to show you how to share this with devs, which I think is the thing that is most interesting for all of you. So after we have all our screens already built and validated, we are going to select, we are going to enclose, I will say, all these screens into one frame. I'm just going to change the color. And select for development. So as you can see here, and this is pretty much how I will share this with developers. I will share this frame, and the developers will be able to inspect and have all the items, all the information they need, and even download their own assets here. And it's actually pretty interesting because Figma just released a plugin for Visual Code. So you can directly open these frames on Visual Code. I should have that enabled. Okay, I don't know what's happening with the visual code. You can also select the language that you want to get the insights of these pages from. And yes, I think this is where I'm going to stop my presentation. I'm not an expert on how developers use these screens, but I know that when you enable dev mode, you get all the insights on several languages or codes. And you can actually open this in Visual Studio. So it's pretty useful for all developers. And you can see even the assets that the designer has used on all these screens. So yes, I think that will be it for the second part of the workshop. I hope all of you liked it and all of you can put this into work in your daily life, hopefully. And if you have any questions, let me know here, or you can let me know through Slack.